Ooh. Amps and Sound Bounty. All right. So more of a vlog style deal today. And this is the Amps and Sound Bounty is my personal unit. I actually just swapped it out for a Nautilus, which is actually sitting over there just waiting for me to do this quick little vlog talking about the Amps and Sound Bounty. And so, like I said, this is my personal unit, but I did swap it out, and I've did a fancy trade, swap some camera gear and the Bounty for a Nautilus. So I will have a Nautilus in place of this in the future. But right now, my big setup, I say my big setup because it's this Amps and Sound Bounty, my big corn scalas, and it's not in the best setup, and then in the sense of like room setup, but I have in the case there the Schiit Freya S, and then I swapped out my Spring 3 KTE 3 with a Weem Pro Ultra with the AKM chip, or Weem Pro. I think it's the Ultra. It's not the one with the screen. It's the little small one. But that thing's pretty cool. The little Weem, like it, everything on your phone. It's pretty magic. But I wanted to go into the Bounty before I got rid of it. I thought, I might as well do a quick video, and I figured I'd try out this Osmo 3 whole deal as like a vlog style thing, and just not like a proper review or anything like that, but just my thoughts and experience like I usually do, but more in a kind of quick, easy engagement, and talk less about specs, but I will go into specs a little bit, but more dive into my thoughts proper about just day-to-day use case of an item, right? And I've had this Bounty for a couple weeks. Actually, it's been a couple months now, but yeah, it's been kind of a wild ride. But the big thing about the Bounty is that it's very powerful, and it's a headphone amp as well. And on the back, there's a little toggle or like a switch for going into speaker or headphone mode. It has a speaker out taps, and it does some pretty cool things. If you turn the volume all the way to full and have a pre for like my Freya S, it goes into like full power out mode, so you can just do everything with the Freya S as the volume and whatnot and preamp it. Which is a pretty cool little feature there. And it's a very analog amp, because that's what Justin at Amps and Sound does. He's a very analog, old school style with a very new age and very clean, monolithic almost look to his design aesthetic, which I dig. I actually really like it. And his amps are not small. They're usually very heavy. They have big transformers in them. He has a very specific way he likes to go at it. He goes very expensive, very large, really nice big transformers. And so like this amp in and of itself is about 45 pounds, which is pretty heavy for something that you're like, oh, this is a cool little amp. Oh, you know. And then the Nautilus is even heavier. It's wild. So this isn't something that you're gonna move around a lot. Like I did move it upstairs and play with it on my Kest for a little bit, which was fantastic. Definitely wanted a little, like with a near field, because in my setup there's more near field to some degree, so it worked fine, but the Kest are a little more power hungry, so that's something to be aware of. But in this specific setup, this is how I usually use my Amps and Sound amps, is with my corn scalas, which are also made by Justin. And these were one of his personal sets that he had that I randomly, he was like, hey, you want to buy these? And I was like, heck yeah, let's go. So that's how I got those. But the Bounty, let's just do a quick spec thing. And I said it's really powerful, but it's 17 watts RMS with peaks up to 22 watts at 1 kilohertz is what he has listed here on his site here. And that will change depending on the tubes you have put in there. So you can have like some high gain tubes, some low gain tubes to kind of help with like noise and power and that kind of thing. And in my setup here, it's not the best setup. Like I'm gonna be bluntly honest. Wife acceptance factor, or WAF, is not very high for something like giant speakers and like a big monolithic amp there, right? So, and then we have my daughter. She likes to play video games and whatnot, so she has her chairs in the way, and then the wife doesn't want me moving stuff, so I have to like move things out of the way to get the best potential out of this space. But it's a big open space. It opens up into like the dining area, and then it goes into the kitchen. It's a big open space. So it kind of has, but then there's like a big wall behind me. It's a mess for like audiophile listening. And that Weem Pro is pretty amazing because it does this room correction. So it uses your phone mic and you put it where your optimal sitting position is, or where you like to sit, and it will room correct for that space with EQ and whatnot. And it's kind of magic. And it was wild how much of a difference it made. Like wild. And it was really good. Like I'm really impressed by that little streamer DAC. But back to the Bounty. For me, I do get some power feedback every once in a while, and that's mostly and ultimately due to the setup I have. I have 2 consoles, I have a TV, I have actually 3 consoles sitting up here. I have the Apple TV, I have the TV itself, everything's Wi-Fi, so it's playing havoc on this amp because it's not the ideal situation for a tube amp of this type. The cage helps a little bit, but as far as like blocking some of the Wi-Fi, I'm assuming, I'm not a scientist, I don't know. But overall though, just when I just sit down and listen to music and just having a good time, it sounds lovely. Like I love the amps and sound with the Korn Scalas, like that synergy, and with the shit Freya S and or like even the Spring 3 when I had that down here, it's just fantastic sounding. I really love the synergy that it goes with those. I'm a poet and didn't even know it. But the other thing with the Bounty is it's a headphone amplifier. The thing with that though is it's the same power as the speaker outs. So it's just gobs of power going out, and it's like fully balanced, and it's wild. Like that's the other thing too, is it's fully balanced on the back, all into the front. So it's a fully balanced amp, and it's just crazy how much power this thing puts out. I don't actually have headphones that can minimize or that would take advantage of that. Like I have a Caldera closed, I have all my ZMFs and the HG800. But even those, man, like they're just not that power hungry. And so something that would pair really well with this as far as headphones go would be something like the Susvara, the HE6 from Hi-Fi Men, the Tungsten, those very power hungry planars are what this is made for as far as the headphone out part. And that's just not my use case for it personally. I personally use it with my speakers. And in general, outside of the Kinsey, most of the Amps and Sound amps that I've had have been in use with the Korn Scalas or with speakers. Like I just prefer that sound with speakers. Not that the headphone outs are bad or like sound bad. That's to me, like that's the natural, their natural environment, or to me, not that that's what he's aiming for building these for, but that's just my use case. I just prefer the Amps and Sound amps with speakers. Like I just love that big transformer, big tubes, or just tubes with big, woofers and horns. So that's my general use case, is with the Korn Scalas and or the Kefs, when I feel like dragging a 45-pound block up the stairs to my room with the Kefs. But the Bounty is like one of those things. I was talking to a buddy, and one of the things that really stands out for me with the Bounty, and I'm not going to go into super detail about how I hear it and what I think it sounds like, that kind of stuff, but one of the things that I think is a hallmark of a good product, and I was chatting with another buddy, we were listening to his, he had a crazy speaker set we want me to go here, but we were talking about how when a setup or a product disappears from the chain or from your mind, and you're just listening to music, and that's like you're just enjoying music, you're not thinking about what you're listening to, you're not thinking about, I'm listening to the Bounty, or I'm listening to the Korn Scalas, or I'm listening to headphone like the ZMF blah blah blah, or the HG800s, or the whatever DAC, the Spring 3, or the whatever the latest hottest thing is. I'm just listening to music, and I'm enjoying my coffee and or like a whiskey or a tequila old fashioned or whatever you're enjoying, and you're just lost in the music and enjoying the music you're listening to. And I get that scenario a lot with this chain generally. And so in the sense of like the Amps and Sound Bounty with the Korn Scala, the shit Freya S, and I stopped thinking about it, and I just enjoy the music I'm listening to. And that's what I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit more. and kind of get to that. Like I want all my products that I enjoy listening to is for me to not think about them. I want them to get out of the way and just let me enjoy what I'm actually here for, which is listening to music and having a good time. And it takes, a product to actually, you have to put all that stuff together and synergize it and all that stuff. But overall, that's the bounty for me. Like with this setup has been that. Like once I put it up there on top of the Corn Scalas, it was game over. That's where it lived. It's basically been right there the whole time, outside of a few movements and bringing headphones down here to listen to it. And it's been, a very enjoyable couple months with it. And I really dig it a lot. A couple months, maybe weeks, months. Yeah. It's time. Weird. It doesn't make sense anymore. But, yeah, so that's the bounty. So speaking, I want to touch on real quick. So there is a thing because of the power that it puts out, and because of depending on where you have it. When I isolated the bounty with just headphones, it made it the noise floor dropped a lot. I swapped out tubes to bring like low gain tubes to drop the noise floor even lower with the headphones I have on hand. But ultimately, that's a lot of power, and you're going to get noise floor. And I could see where maybe a Susvara HE6 or a Tungsten would not have that problem. But for me, with my dynamic headphones or the Caldera or Rad Zeros that I have, they don't really need that much power, so they're going to pick up that noise floor. So that's just something to be aware of. But like I said, overall, my thing is I listen to it with speakers. And even in speaker world, you have to pay attention to the noise. I kind of mentioned it earlier, is my setup's not the best. I have all this electronics around it, and so every once in a while I'll get some like USB or power feedback through the chain, and it will kind of make a little noise here and there. But like right now I have it on, everything's on, and you can't hear anything. It's dead silent. So the only time it really is a problem is because I put it in a situation where it's creating a problem. I did that, not the amp itself. So and that's just something I have to live with the wife acceptance factor of where these are at. So, and I deal with it, and it's great, and I don't even think about it because it almost never happens, but it does every once in a while rear its ugly head, that weird power thing. But I could probably get an isolator or something, make it better, but we're not there yet. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on the Bounty. It's a lovely amp. It just gets out of the way, and I enjoy my times like this morning where my wife's on a work trip and the daughter's at school, and I can listen to music and just not think about things for a little bit while I drink my coffee and not think about anything other than listening to music and letting my brain kind of detox and float on and enjoy and de-stress. So, yeah. With that, this little experiment with the vlog will be done, and I will catch everybody on the next one. I'll try to put out some more videos. I have a bunch of products. They all came in at once, so I have to take time to like listen to each one and give it its due respect, and then create a video for it. I think up next I really need to do a Hi-Fi for All Dahlia dedicated video outside of the live stream I did. But anyways, I'll catch everybody on the next one, and hopefully that will be the Dahlia. But I have like 3 or 4 other products that came in, so I need to kind of play with. But Dahlia's first up. All right. And with that, I'll let everybody have their morning, afternoon, or evening back, and catch everybody on the next one. Cheers.